that drive between San Angelo and Lubbock was absolutely beautiful, and I enjoyed it. We also had great crowds in San Angelo and in Lubbock for the Life, Liberty, and Property Tour. We have about 65 requests for tour stops. Next week I'm going to be in Austin working on the Conservative Budget Coalition plan for our next session. And then the following week we're going to be in the Conroe, Woodlands, Beaumont area with the Life, Liberty, and Property Tour. And so we're just simply going across the state with the conservative message of limited government and the rule of law. So let me talk just a minute to segue into Sheriff Smith about how important the rule of law is. I can tell you that whatever you have seen on the news about the border situation pales in comparison to what is actually going on. We have a lot of friends in law enforcement that we talk to on a regular basis. Our friend Brandon Darby, who is the managing editor of Breitbart, Texas. If you are not going every day to Breitbart.com, and at the top you click on Breitbart, Texas, that is where you go to get the information that's coming in from the Texas Border Volunteers, coming in from the from the Border Patrol, from DPS, and that's where you get the information about what's really going on. Now, I'm going to say this. There's a lot going on that we're not being told. I will tell you that the de facto commandeering of state and local assets by the federal government is going on right now. And it has the face of children on it. There's a reason that the face of children is on this. Yes, there's a humanitarian issue here with the children. It absolutely is. And for the ministries and the people that are dealing with helping out those children, God bless them. Grassroots America is involved in saving Texas and the sovereignty of Texas. I will tell you that of the 300,000 illegals who have entered Texas since April, come across the southern border of the border states since April, about 55,000 of those are children. There are very dangerous people coming over that border. Now, who says that? Is JoAnn Fleming just having a bad moment? No. The Southern Commander of the United States Marines issued a public statement back in February saying that the intelligence they had of the dangerous people coming in over the border put Americans at great risk. That was back in February. He's restating that now. And I can tell you there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. There are state representatives, Senator Patrick, the Republican nominee for Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick, Attorney General, Republican nominee Kim Paxton, and others are working behind the scenes to try to find a solution. Now, this afternoon, we're having a conference call with a veteran and a constitutional scholar who believes that we have, under Article 1, Section 10(3) of the United States Constitution, the ability to turn back, to say, don't enter anymore. So for those of you who believe that that is what DPS is doing, is turning people back, we're not turning anybody back. DPS is doing the best they can do on the border. But DPS, like Border Control, Border Patrol is restricted by upper management. That's the nicest way I can say it. They are dispirited. I can tell you that Border Patrol, many of them want to just lay it down and walk away. I would ask you today that as you pray for the work that Pastor Cummins, Dan Cummins, and JoAnn Cummins are doing in Washington, that you would pray for law enforcement, for those who are laboring on the border. Their lives are in jeopardy. They are. And so, as we think about what the rule of law means, we have an element of lawlessness in our country today that emanates from the White House. It is against the constitutional rule of law to commandeer the assets of a state or of a local government unless you have declared war. So instead of doing that, there's just this steady wave after wave after wave. And communities are being asked, just go ahead and take it. Just go ahead and take all this in. Meanwhile, there are 2 reports that I keep talking about everywhere I go. These reports are linked in some of my opinion pieces in Breitbart, Texas. I believe they're also linked on our website. If you go to the Texas Department of Public Safety, Texas Department of Public Safety website, or if you Google DPS Threat Assessment 2013, the PDF will come up. Then the second report is the April 2014 Gang Assessment Report. I beg you to read those reports. Those are very sobering reports. And when you read the contents of those reports, the question that will be screaming in your head is, how did we get here? Because in those reports, it tells you that 6 of the 8 most dangerous cartels have set up command and control centers across the state of Texas. Dallas-Fort Worth is a command and control center for cartels and transnational gangs. Friends, Dallas-Fort Worth is not on board. So, when you think about what law enforcement is doing, DPS has been redirected to the border. The cartels and the transnational gangs know that. So guess where they're at work? They're at work up and down I-20 and all over the state. And DPS knows that. They're undermanned. They were understaffed before the border surge. I want you to understand that. DPS was already understaffed before the border surge. And Grassroots America and the Tea Parties of Texas lobbied hard and advocated for pay raises for DPS last year. Do you want to know why we did that? Because it is harder and harder for DPS to be able to attract and retain the caliber of men and women with clean records that is required to work for DPS. You can't be somebody that just, partied down and, smoked weed, did everything you wanted to do in your, your young, stupid years, and then show up for DPS with a record and think you're going to work for DPS. That's not the way it works. These are men and women that put their lives on the line every day. And what was happening is that they were losing people to metro police departments because they paid so much more. I'm going to tell you, if there's ever a couple of things that government should fund, out of all the foolishness they fund, it should be to provide for our veterans, and to provide for the defense of the homeland with good law enforcement. Now, there are bad apples in everything. It doesn't matter where you look. There are bad actors in any organization. And from time to time, law enforcement will have a bad actor. And in Smith County now, the bad actors go to jail that are in law enforcement. I'm glad to tell you that. But for heaven's sakes, resist the temptation that I see all over the internet, people that have this rebellious spirit toward law enforcement. If you've never lost a family member to violent crime, I don't think that you can fully appreciate what law enforcement does. My family has had 2 family members that were murdered in cold blood. And I can tell you that'd make you feel sorry for me. I am telling you, you better hope that after you read those 2 reports, you better hope that we have law enforcement who's going to protect us. That's all I got to say about it, folks. You better think about it. And I don't mean disrespect for anybody that works in any other element of government. I'm not saying that people who work for law enforcement are a better class of people. I'm saying they are a different class of people. They're the same types of people that will volunteer to serve in the military knowing that their country is not going to take care of them. And in many regards, it looks like they just want to throw them away after they get home. It's heartbreaking. So I am asking you to read those reports. I'm asking you to pray for law enforcement everywhere, for wisdom for our elected officials in the state. Our state's not doing everything it can. But I pray that the things that we're bringing to the table now for them, some new resources, constitutional authorities that are telling them what the state of Texas can do, I hope that we're going to have leaders rise up and take those resources to do what they can. Now, you guys are still the best looking crowd in the state, I have to tell you that. And I see a lot of them. Thank you so much for supporting Grassroots America and what we do. I know we've got a big crowd in Dallas that are at a retreat, a ministry retreat this weekend. So we're going to have Sheriff Smith's presentation on the website, and I hope the sheriff will email us his presentation so that we can put it on the website so people can see. This is an informational opportunity for the sheriff. You know, we have had many elected officials, local elected officials come in and present to us. We've had the district clerk, we've had the county clerk, I think we've had Mr. Barber who's been here before. Did I see Gary Barber? Hey Gary, hi Commissioner Ward, and I think I see Commissioner Phillips here. So we appreciate what our local officials do. They are always welcome here. All we're asking for is that elected officials listen to each other and find a prudent way to determine what the priorities are. And a reasonable expectation is that they deliver the highest quality services at the very best price. Those core functions are supposed to do. And that's a reasonable expectation. So, thank you all for being here. I'm going to have to leave as close to about 20 till 2. I have to be out of here for that conference call. But thank you for being here. And Sheriff Smith, thank you for being here. And it's your show now.
very much for the opportunity to be here today to talk to you about the Sheriff's Office. What this allows, I want this to be informative for you. What this allows me to do is to continue what my pledge was to you